Good evening, everybody. Aquatic here with the Real Report. Want to give a big shout out to the recent subscribers Christina, Alex, Lycan, Jay, Albert, and Logan, James, and Matt. Thank you guys so much for being here. Go ahead and everyone else smack that subscribe button as we close in on that 100 subscriber mark. Awesome achievement for the channel being this new. Go ahead and smack that like button too and leave a thumbs up in the comments down below if you could. It really helps out. All right, we've got a slew of information to cover from Taiwan, China, US, some news out of Australia, Italy, the UK, and Sierra Leone. So let's hop right into it. Biggest headline from last night, you guys probably saw Biden signed the documents of the US support for Sweden, Finland to join NATO. Here you can hear from our commander-in-chief.
Thought he could break us apart when this all started. He believed he could break us apart, in my view, weaken our resolve. Instead, he's getting exactly what he did not want. He wanted the Finlandization of NATO, but he's getting the NATOization of Finland.
I'm going to stop it right there. I can't really take more than 17 seconds of that horrible, horrible joke. All right, U.S. President Biden on Tuesday signed documents endorsing Finland and Sweden's accession to NATO, the most significant expansion of the military alliance since the 1990s as it responds to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Now, this is very important because, as everyone knows, Russia has made numerous threats of what would happen and serious repercussions if more countries on their border were to join NATO. They would have to respond militarily, so keep a very, very close eye on this as things develop. Hopping over here, sparking AUKUS involvement, U.S. activates the Lend-Lease Act, and for Taiwan, Chinese ambassador says, quote, "We'll figure it out soon." Sounds a little ominous. Taiwan is slowly and steadily turning into a new Ukraine as American senators are preparing a bipartisan bill that will activate the World War II military aid program, the Lend-Lease Act, for Taipei as well as they did with Kiev. Now, it's questionable, this is the big takeaway here, whether the U.S. defense industry can withstand fighting on two fronts. Now, I don't know about you, but I don't think they have the capability to fight two wars simultaneously and equally supply both the Ukrainians and the Taiwanese military. They've already had reports on MSNBC, CNBC, one of the two, that up to 70% of the equipment we've sent to Ukraine hasn't even reached the front lines, and a big chunk of it is actually being sold elsewhere around the globe. So, pretty interesting stuff. Now, they go on to say American action is also very risky as it will directly involve the countries I'm about to name. Soon, South Korea, Japan, Australia, and Britain will be called upon to militarily reinforce Taiwan in confrontation with Beijing. So things definitely heating up. Over here from Politico to show you guys how much relevance the U.S. has on the world stage. Pentagon chief's calls to China go unanswered amid the Taiwan crisis. That's right, they're calling. Nobody's picking up the phone. Taiwanese foreign minister says China drills part of a game plan for the invasion. Here's the clip.
Taiwan's foreign minister said on Tuesday that China was using military drills as a game plan to prepare for an invasion. China's military exercises were launched in protest against US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit to the self-ruled island. Joseph Wu, speaking at a press conference in Taipei, said Taiwan would not be intimidated by the drills.
China has used the drills in its military playbook to prepare for the invasion of Taiwan. It is conducting large-scale military exercises and missile launches, as well as cyber attacks, disinformation campaign, and economic coercion in an attempt to weaken public morale in Taiwan.
So as you guys heard that, they have confirmed China has been launching cyber attacks and also other forms of warfare to try and beat down the morale and get them to just capitulate to the Chinese, which we will get into. Let me skip ahead to an article. I believe it's coming up here in a second. Here we've got another video. Taiwan conducted live-fire artillery drills today. Taiwan is using 155mm howitzers, 120mm mortars for the drills, which are designed to repel a mock amphibious assault from China. Here's the clip. So nothing too crazy. Hopping over here to the home press media service for the spokesperson's remarks for the regular Chinese press conference. Interesting takeaways were a statement from the EU saying they are concerned by China's announced threatening actions, which risk, quote, unnecessary escalation. They said there's no justification to use Pelosi's visit to Taiwan as a pretext for aggressive military activity or coercion. Down here, they're talking about China has the right to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity. The tensions in the Taiwan Strait is fundamentally caused by the U.S. connivance, they say, at the third highest ranking official of the U.S. government to take a military aircraft to visit China's Taiwan region in disregard of China's strong opposition, which everyone in the world was watching Pelosi's plane on the flight radars last week. China will allow no room for any form of Taiwan independence forces. That's the big takeaway here. Talking about over 100 countries spoke up soon after the visit took place. G7 involved. Down here, there is only one version and the connotation of the one China principle. There is only one China in the world, and Taiwan is part of China, the PRC has claimed. So we'll see. More saber rattling, or are they going to belly up to the bar? Back over to Reuters. China's conducting regular military drills east of Taiwan Strait, median line from the state media report. Down here you can see the Chinese military will from now on conduct regular drills on the eastern side of the median line of the Taiwan Strait. So very interesting that they have extended it and essentially said, I think we're here to stay. Exclusive, U.S. rethinks steps on China tariffs in wake of Taiwan response. Apparently, we're debating whether to back down and cower, or if we need to actually posture that we have a spine on the world stage. So here out of Washington, China's war games around Taiwan have led the Biden administration officials to recalibrate their thinking on whether to scrap some tariffs or potentially impose others on Beijing, which I don't think they're going to do. Down here they said, but Beijing's response to U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's visit last week to Taiwan triggered a recalculation by the officials who are eager not to do anything that would be viewed by China as an escalation. That doesn't sound like they own us or anything. Again, viewed by China as an escalation while also seeking to avoid being seen as retreating in the face of the communist country's aggression. They said, quote, I think Taiwan has changed everything, a source familiar with the latest developments in the process. China continues military drills around Taiwan. This was from 2 days ago. China carried out fresh military drills around Taiwan Monday, Beijing said, defying calls for it to end its largest ever exercise encircling the democratic island. It has also deployed fighter jets, warships, and ballistic missiles in what analysts have described as practice for a blockade and ultimately an invasion of the self-ruled island, which China claims as its territory. China Monday said they were ongoing, reporting the Eastern Theater of the Chinese People's Liberation Army continued to carry out practical joint exercises and training in the sea and airspace around Taiwan Island. The exercises are focusing on organizing joint anti-submarine and sea assault operations. Beijing is also, on Monday, set to carry out live-fire drills in parts of the South China Sea and Yellow Sea. This is the article that corroborates the other story. China steps up cyber attacks, disinformation campaigns targeting Taiwan. Here we've got Pelosi saying the Taiwan trip was worth it and calls Xi a scared bully. Listen here.
Xi has taken the country in an even more autocratic direction over the past several years. What have you learned by his overreaction to a member of Congress's visit to Taiwan?
Well, I think that he's in a fragile place. He has problems with his economy. He's acting like a scared bully, and this is before the meeting where he will want to be reelected.
Again, she's just as bad as Pudding Cup, so I will spare you the rest of that video. She gets a grand total of about 7 more words out over the course of 50 seconds. Hopping over here, China launches blockade exercise at around Taiwan on Tuesday. So this was just from last night. China's military on Tuesday, August 9th, announced that it will extend military exercises by sea and air around Taiwan with a focus on joint blockade and joint support. I've seen online they're still reporting that flights are not allowed to go in and out from certain countries, so keep an eye on that. It added that the drills will focus on organizing joint blockade and joint support operations. Meanwhile, the Taiwanese army began conducting live fire drills. That one's August 11th. They're going to hold them again tomorrow, which would be tonight, Eastern U.S. time. Taiwan's 8th Army Corps told the media that the purpose of the artillery drill was to practice repulsing an amphibious landing by enemy forces. So again, everyone is on the same page here. Newsweek, interesting one. Top Taiwan missile official found dead in his hotel room after a, quote, heart attack. Coincidence? Perhaps. Here out of Turkey, military development, Turkish army receives local-made Togan mini UAVs, unmanned aerial vehicles, for those not familiar. So keep an eye as other countries' tech continues to improve. Here from the U.S. Army takes delivery of the new M7A4 B-Fist artillery fire support armored vehicles, which are essentially the Bradley fighting vehicle. Just another development as we continue to acquire more equipment. Milrem Robotics delivered the first Themis unmanned ground vehicle to the Spanish army. So again, more countries in NATO with the same tech. They're saying here is acquired in the framework of the Scorpion program that was launched in early 2021, rapidly converted into a weaponized, remotely operated unit to offer force protection. The UGV was operated for over 330 hours in one go. So pretty interesting to see more countries' equipment and what stage it's in. And hopefully we are light years ahead of all this. As in we, the U.S., because that's where I'm currently living. Here from Sky News, Special Forces carried out raid on Russian air base in Crimea, 200 kilometers behind the front lines. Another really interesting headline. Russia had claimed the blasts last night were caused by ammunition detonating, but Ukraine is claiming that the Special Forces were behind the explosions. They're claiming Ukraine's Air Force that 9 Russian warplanes were destroyed in the explosion and claim that Moscow has been denying it. There's been speculation about what caused the explosions, given that the rockets supplied with U.S.-donated HIMARS launchers are believed to have a range of 85 kilometers. So keep an eye on that, especially if Russia turns around and blames the U.S., having supplied them with the equipment that has struck Crimea. U.S. confirms new military aid to Ukraine with more HIMARS guided rockets and artillery ammunition. This from just last night. As we send billions more and another 9.1 billion over to Ukraine. Russia oil flowing again to Slovakia. This was an interesting one. Everybody was scared they were going to entirely cut off the supply and it would be a big problem for Hungary. However, the pipeline has since resumed the oil flow. Speaking of Russia, Russian inflation dips to post-invasion low with steeper slowdowns expected. Looks like our economic sanctions are not having the intended consequence. Russian annual inflation fell to the slowest since the invasion, with central banks in Russia cutting rates, but risks to prices may soon emerge. This is out of Bloomberg. Russian inflation eased more than forecast to the lower since President Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine. The third straight month of deacceleration took annual inflation to 15.1%, down from 15.9% in June. On a monthly basis, prices dropped just shy of 0.4%, the most in 5 years. The cost of fruit and vegetables declined by double digits from June. They said Russia's disinflationary momentum has been so strong that the central bank was able to bring interest rates below their level before the war. Obviously, what we've done has not worked and has only hurt us. Out of Sierra Leone, they're imposing curfews amid anti-government protests. I saw the headline just an hour ago. that our embassies are warning local groups to back off away from the embassies. Anti-government protesters in Sierra Leone have clashed with police in the streets of the capital, Freetown, as tensions over the rising cost of living turn deadly in the West African nation. They're joining about a dozen nations. I did a whole video on other countries on the verge of collapse. This is just one more to add. Out of London, children to be offered polio boosters as samples found in water. This is an interesting one because the biggest headline out of last week was polio is reemerging in the New York, USA water supply, with hundreds of cases and hundreds more on the way. So truly bizarre, considering this was essentially eradicated and everybody and their mother, for the most part, was vaccinated against it. To have this reemergence is very interesting. Keep an eye on that as it develops. Italy launches monkeypox vaccination campaign out of Rome's main infectious disease hospital said Monday 10 people had been vaccinated and that it's expected to vaccinate more than 200. Again, that's just Rome, so keep an eye on that as well. Here to wrap up in just 1 second, this is the last piece. Australia's central bank proposes centralized digital currency so that everything you can do, they'll know. Reserve Bank of Australia, the RBA, has announced a project to investigate the potential uses for a federally backed digital currency, DigiDollar, wink wink. It's coming, guys. It is absolutely on the way. Cash is on the way out. Anonymity is on the way out. The draconian style oversight is unfortunately going to get worse. So it's noteworthy as more big countries hop on that train. All right, guys, that's the real report for August 10th. Go ahead and leave a like if you guys found anything in this video informative or useful, and comment down below. Appreciate it, guys. I'll see you in the next one.